Hello, I'm Tam from letteringtutorial.com. Welcome to this video showing you a mechanical pencil versus a clutch pencil. So firstly, what are the main differences between a mechanical pencil and a clutch pencil? Clutch pencils are also known as lead holders. So a mechanical pencil generally has a very fine tip to it, and that allows you to get some really nice small lines in that allow you to get detail in. So for example, you might want to put the middle bit of an A in, and a pencil with such a fine tip is good for allowing you to do that. So that's mainly what mechanical pencils are useful for. You can get varying different leads for them as well, so you can get a softer and a harder lead for creating lighter and darker lines. Then you've got the clutch pencil or the lead holder pencil. Now the first difference you should notice here is the size of the pencil lead at the end. It's significantly thicker than a mechanical pencil. It's almost on a par with the standard lead you'd get in a normal pencil. And the same as the mechanical pencil, you can create nice fine lines. And again, if you wanted to put in the triangle shape, for example an A where you need to get that detail in, it's useful for that. But then another advantage to the clutch pencil is because it's slightly thicker, you can actually tilt the pencil, that's not a good example there, and you can use the edge of it, so you can create thicker lines if you want to. So if you're, for example, trying to letter some curved words, you can do so there, and you can get thicks and thins. One of the disadvantages of owning a clutch pencil is trying to keep that tip sharp, because obviously as soon as that starts to blunt down, this pencil isn't going to be much good to you. Whereas a mechanical pencil, you never really need to sharpen them because the tip on them is so fine. You always get a nice sharp line even after you've worn it down a bit. You can still create sharp thin lines. Whereas once you start to wear the mechanical one down, that'll take a few seconds. It's hard to see on camera, but that tip's already starting to wear down. Obviously if I did that for a bit longer or used it generally for a little while, that tip will wear right down. Now these do come with a sharpener in the end. I wasn't able to get the end off of this. It might not actually be a version with a sharpener in the end. I know some of them do have sharpeners in the end though, but often the sharpener that comes with them isn't wonderful, and it doesn't give you such a nice point that you want. But you can buy special sharpeners to keep the points on these really sharp, and you can get kind of bigger, sturdier sharpeners, or you can get little ones like this. I think this was a Faber and Castell sharpener, and as you can see it's absolutely tiny, so if you wanted to carry this around with you, you could very easily. And as you can just make out there, there's a very tiny hole for sharpening with. You just pop that in there, you don't get much in the way of sort of mess either with sharpening with these. A little bit of pencil dust, and that's pretty much it. And these generally allow you to get a really nice sharp tip like I had on this one to begin with. So if you do want to use a clutch pencil, lead holder, it is definitely a good idea to invest in a separate sharpener. So we've got some good pros and cons there between using a mechanical pencil and a lead holder. And as you can see, what just rolled in there was a graphite pencil. So let's compare a graphite pencil now to these two. So a graphite pencil, it doesn't seem to commonly appear within the lettering world too much. I'm sure there are those out there that use them, but mainly because a graphite pencil consists of just pencil lead, really. So you can see here there's no wood, it's all just pencil with a thin coating over the top so you don't get grey all over your hands. And these are made from kind of clay and then the carbon stuff which makes up the lead, and because of that it makes them very, very soft. So for a brief amount of time you again can get some sharp lines, but then after that this end will wear down you can see that already, it's starting to get thicker. It starts to wear down and soften very, very quickly. So if you're doing something a little bit bold or chunky, then this would be pretty good for that, if you don't need to get nice thin details. But for anything that's a bit delicate, a solid graphite pencil is definitely not a good tool to use. But as you can see, you can get some nice dark lines with this, but again, see that now, just after drawing just a couple of things, those lines are getting thicker and thicker. Again, that could be quite good for doing curves once the once the lead starts to soften down and you get a bit of a flat edge, but you're still not going to get as much control as you would with a clutch pencil or a mechanical pencil. Pop those there. And then finally we've got a standard pencil. So these are just the bog standard ones you can get in any stationery shop pretty much anywhere in the world. You can see here that I've actually used a knife to sharpen this one, and the reason behind that is because it can give you a slightly longer lead point on it, similarly to the clutch pencil here, and that can allow you to actually then, rather than tilt the pencil up like that to draw with, you can then lay it sort of flatter like that and get a bit of a flatter edge on it to get some curves in if you want to. And a standard sharpener might not give you that same length there with the tip. You're more likely to break the lead if you try and sharpen it to that extent. And a standard lead pencil can actually compete quite well with a clutch pencil in terms of giving you a bit of versatility. So what you can do is you can actually get some sandpaper. Now this came with an art set that I purchased once upon a time ago, and it's literally just a pad of sandpaper with a wooden block on the bottom, which gives you a bit of stability and it doesn't then bend when you put pressure on it. But what you can do is you can take a standard pencil and just rub that on the sandpaper and then hopefully you can see that on the camera there. It can give you some really nice flat edges that you can then use for curves. Really poor curve, but hopefully you get the point. And then you can obviously rotate it, and you've got your thins, an end still that's thin for doing thins with. So you've got a bit of versatility there with using sandpaper. Now obviously if you tried to use sandpaper on, for example, the mechanical pencil, there's a good chance it will actually break the lead because it's so flimsy. And you see you've got a bit of a kind of a jaggedy line going on here now. It's not sort of as fluid as it once was because the lead is too thin. So you can't shape a mechanical pencil to allow you to get those thicks and thins. And if we did the same to the graphite pencil, essentially we're just speeding up what would happen if we drew a few times with it, and you can see that had a nice sharp point a couple of minutes ago on that, and look how soft and flattened that is already. So again, that will give us some really big flat edges, but that would soften more and more to the point where you were practically drawing with a stump after a short while, which wouldn't really be very useful at all. And then finally, if you use sandpaper on the clutch pencil lead holder, it's a bit 50-50 really. Depending how sharp your point is, it may break or it may not, so I think we're okay there. It hasn't broken yet. So you can take a bit of a flat edge there and make a bit of a flat edge. But because of this sort of plastic and metal here, it's quite difficult to lay this at the right angle on here. And obviously you can hold the sandpaper closer to the end here, but again you still can't get it at that right angle like we could with the standard pencil. We could hold that at kind of whatever angle we wanted. So obviously it's a soft wood that just sands kind of away with the paper and it doesn't matter. Obviously this one has the metal end and plastic here, so we can't get as close to the sandpaper as would be useful to get a nice point. So you can get a little bit of a kind of a flat edge on that, but not as much as potentially could be useful. So there we go. 4 pencils that all have their pros and cons. And the main thing to do really is just experiment and see what you're most comfortable using and what works best for you. And also what style of lettering that you specialise in, or if you specialise in kind of a broad range of lettering, then probably a good idea to experiment with all of these different styles of pencil. Cool. So thank you for watching, and for more lettering information and tutorials, head on over to letteringtutorial.com. I hope you found this helpful, and I'm sure I'll see you again shortly for another video. Bye for now.